I'm John.
I'm Derek.
I'm Mark.
And you're listening to Interview Under Fire.
All right, everyone, welcome back to a brand new edition of Interview Under Fire. Your host, Sonny, here with Derek, John, and Mark. Quite the honor from SCOUR. Thank you guys so much for joining our podcast today in IUF. Adam Jarvis will be joining us later on. Aside from it being the holiday season, and apparently today is Conjunction Day, something about the stars lining up in the sky. I mean, this is an important yet exciting time of the year for you, and the rest of the crew at SCOUR with the release of your third studio EP titled Black, which released this past November 27th on Housecore and Nuclear Blast Records. First off, guys, I want to say congratulations on all the well-deserved recognition it's been getting so far. But before we get to that, I'm going to ask a very important question to start things off. And it's a very simple one, but I think it's an important one to ask considering where we are at our lives at this point. How are you? How's life for you guys, wherever you guys are at? And how's life been since our lives have pretty much have changed since March? Because I know you guys are in different places around the nation right now at this point. So however you guys want to take it off, John, Derek, and Mark.
Yeah, we're just trying to get by. And I think having the release of the Black EP has given us something to do, and it's kept us all really busy. And, besides that, we've kept busy with our other bands, and writing and doing special guests, quarantine videos with, people. And so, you just try to keep busy, man, and, do the best you can. I know Derek has been working a lot.
Working too much, nonstop working, but at least SCOUR has been a labor of love. And as John said, it's eaten up a lot of our time and taking the heat away from the rest of the nonsense in the world for a while. So I think it's actually a good time to release music right now. People are thirsty,
Yeah. Mark,
you there, Mark?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, being stuck in your house, it gives you a lot of time to, and no excuses to get ahead on writing. Musicians are always needing to make the music. So this is a great time to do that since you're not, slaving down on the road.
Being away from the stage a lot as of late for all three of you guys, how are y'all keeping up your, instrumentations these days, like guitar playing, bass playing? I know Adam plays the drums, but has this affected your musicianship? Has anything changed for y'all routine-wise lately, if at all?
Well, I've personally been playing more than ever. We were doing this Tasty Tuesday thing, the Scour Boys on Instagram, where we just do little tasty licks, and that took me back to some earlier riffs that I learned as a kid, and just playing at least once a week is important. But I've been jamming with another band once a week too, and rehearsing some Scour stuff. So I've been playing more than ever. So I don't know about you guys.
Well, I also
woodshedding, man.
Is that it?
Derek, you there?
Derek just like, you know what? Mark, okay. Mark just said something. I'm going to kick back here.
Well, what's up, Biggie? You been jamming or what?
Yeah. I was just saying, I don't know if there's a lag here, but yeah, I've just been woodshedding, shredding it up, trying to get more proficient in my instrument here. And what better time to do it than now?
That's what I like to hear, Scour Boy. I've been jamming in a different way. The Illegals had a lot of touring going on, and I played bass with them, so it actually was a little break from just hammering the songs in, getting those as best as I could. But gearing up for something special with the Scour Boys, jamming, taking a lot of time. But I've also found that me personally, I've been jamming on like bass, guitar. I got the keyboard out. I've been kind of mixing it up, and like John said, with the Tasty Tuesdays, just having a blast with it and kind of just exploring just stuff that I haven't had time to do for a while. So it's been kind of nice.
Was Tasty was that something that came up during the pandemic, or did you guys have that something established before it all began?
Oh no, it was pandemic. It was you know, and it gave some of the people on the page, you know, a little recognition too, because there's some guys that they were doing it every week. They, you know, they get all pumped and they make special videos and stuff. So it was just, you know, something fun to do.
And, you know, between the four of you guys, well, five of you guys, you know, include Phil in on this, you know, you've been at this for over 2 to 3 decades. And, you know, whether it's with Scour, Misery Index, Pig Destroyer, you know, Lockup, Phil and the Illegals, Cast the Stone, Cattle Decapitation, like the list goes on for all of you guys. How was the touring life for each of you personally? Because you guys have done some extensive touring throughout your career, whether it's at Wacken or Rockstead or Hellfest, Brutal Assault, Maryland Death Fest. We're all kind of just taking like an unseen step back. And does it make you guys have kind of like a growing appreciation of the touring life? Because now, I mean, we're home, we're talking culture, the fans, even the food. There's just so many things to pick apart about the touring life, what makes it amazing. What was each of yours biggest takeaway from that?
Well, I mean, when the Scour Boys got together on any of those fests or tours, because we've done tours with our other bands, and I mean,
of course,
I just had a memory from 10 years ago on Facebook from Mark and I were with Job for a Cowboy Skeleton Witch on tour, you know, so we've been doing it, you know, for a long time. And so, yeah, and we'd go out and find, you know, nice restaurants, and, you know, I miss going out with the Scour Boys and having cocktails after the show and celebrating, and, you know, but like you said, all these different fests, you see different people. Like, it's kind of like a reunion a lot of times, because you only see these people at these shows, you know what I mean?
Right.
But you've seen them so many times and you've been on the road with them, and you kind of become kind of like a family. So there's a lot of people I haven't seen. It feels like for years now. And, you know, and I think when we finally get back to touring, it's going to pop off and be crazy. And, you know, everyone's going to be on the road, hopefully, and it's going to be great.
What's funny about that, John, is, you know, you mentioned like a lot of these conversations and things like happen on the road only. Like, you have friends from on the road in these different places, these different bands, these promoters, whatever. And like, since like the pandemic hit, like I found that some of these people I would never talk to online. Like it was like exclusively like in person. We'd see each other at a fest or something like that. And now it's like, I'm getting a lot more messages like from people like that, and like, you know, interacting a little bit more. So I don't know. In that way, it's been kind of positive, because I've been able to build some relationships that way, like further some relationships that, you know, had been just like, you know, over in the beer tent. But
right.
So that's been kind of cool. But you know, it doesn't, you know, replace the drag of not being able to, like, you know, go play some of these shows, of course.
Right.
Yeah. You guys are talking about seeing your homies. Like, there was a time when I remember saying to my buddies in King Parrot, I was like, man, I see you guys more than I do my friends at home. You know what I'm saying? Because they were on tour all the time, and I would see them. Actually, the last tour I did was with King Parrot in Japan. But it's just like anything else. Like, you're home for 3 weeks. You're like, oh, I want to get on the road. Then you get on the road, and for 2 weeks, you're like, oh, I just want to go home. You know, so it's just back and forth. I think everybody wants to get back at it, but after a month to a long tour, everybody like, time to go home. You know,
right? Yeah, you take it for granted now. But now that you can't do it, it's kind of like, you know, it makes you want to do it even more.
You know,
it makes me definitely having done it. You know,
I was going to say, you know, a very popular topic on Interview Under Fire, and you guys have seen it for the past, what is it? We're in like, what, 7th, 8th, or 9th month of whatever this lockdown situation is. And you guys have seen it live streaming. A lot of the bands, what they do on stage are taking it onto the screen like we're doing right now. You know, Lamb of God did it. August Burns Red did it. I went to Metallica a couple months ago at the end of the summer. They did that live streaming not live streaming. They pre-recorded a show and they streamed it for the fans. I think it was only done in North America. And I don't know if you guys knew about it. You know, Dallas, Texas sold out immediately. And luckily a friend of mine had a ticket. I was like, okay, sure, I'll go. It made me miss the live experience even more. But as I'm talking about this and you guys are reminiscing about the memories that you guys have taken in throughout your career, you know, for each of you guys, the festivals that you've been on, the people that you met on the road, the amount of, you know, experience you've taken in doing all these shows, I wanted to ask, do you think that the quarantine-induced live streaming surge we're seeing right now from all these bands, is that going to affect the touring musician business going forward? Do you guys see bands doing this even after all this is over?
Well, I mean,
you're going to follow the money, you know?
Yeah.
So if there's in it, they're going to do it. I don't think it's like, it's not a replacement for live shows or anything. Like, I don't think that industry is going to go away and like the live streaming shows are going to take over or something like that. But it might be like, there might be more of that just in general, you know, where a band,
you might see bands that can't tour, you know, and you could see bands that, say, some older guys that don't want to get out and get into a tour bus. Then, hey, it must be a lot easier to just go down the road and do a live stream from your band practice spot. And, you know, so there's pros and cons to it for sure.
Yeah. And, you know, there's no like right or wrong answer to this, because I was like asking this question. There's some artists who say, oh, yeah, I'm not doing shit until all this is over. And some artists would say, yeah, I love to do live streaming. It still allows me for me to engage with my fans. I know what the Tasty Tuesdays you're talking about. You know, that's
right.
I mean,
yeah. I just
we're talking about that aspect.
You have to adapt. You know, you got to do. You can't just, if you just say, hey, I'm not going to do this just because, I mean, that's kind of like saying back in the 90s, I'm not going to put my music online because I don't know what's going to, you know, and what would happen, you know, and there's still bands that still get by, you know, I mean, like Garth Brooks doesn't have his songs on iTunes, you know, but, you know, you got to adapt to the times if you want to stay alive.
Yeah. Have you guys thought about doing any, I know you guys are in separate places right now, but as far as like live streaming, like has that crossed your mind as engaging something like that at this point?
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's like, we're so far from each other. It would cost so much money to get together to do it. You know, you got to try, you know, it's the demand. If the demand's there, we'll do it, you know, but yeah, it's a little more difficult for us because we're so spread out across the country. You know, we all got to fly in and rehearse but yeah, if that's what we got to do, we got to do it.
Derek, I know you're the owner of Bandit Press, which is screen printing and merchandising distribution. I was going to ask, you know, and all of you guys can chime in on this.
Need a quote? Is that what you're asking for? Yeah.
What's that? You're already jumping the gun there, man. I was going to ask, like, has this pandemic, like, now that we're all home, you know, where we are, has it opened up new things for you guys personally and artistically that you may have not noticed before about yourselves?
Well,
putting y'all on the spot, huh?
This is well, a two-part question. I get two-part answer. One, yes, the Bandit Press is still rolling, and bands are still needing merch. It's not like the touring season.
Yeah.
But of course, if you need something, you know, quality prints, we got you covered.
Plug that in, man.
But for me personally, as far as artistic endeavors, I am actually putting together my tattoo studio equipment, and I'm getting back in the game.
Awesome.
So I started like 5 years ago, tattooed my drummer a bunch, and I'm getting back into it, and I'm getting the gear with a little holiday bonus. So for me, artistically, look out on the road if you guys want, you know, custom pentagram or something.
Gonna need to get some work done, D. Get some work.
I got you.
You know, and I know this is a year that you guys did release that new EP. The third album, Black, came out November 27th on Housecore Nuclear Blast. And this is the follow-up to Gray and Red. And the new EP serves as the final installment of the trilogy. You know, Derek, you also said this was a more musical approach without comprising the utter relentless brutality. You know, when I heard this EP, from the song Doom to Propaganda to Microbes to Subprime, you guys are known for the black metal oriented sound, but it was just filled with creepy and ominous hooks, dark and macabre vocals, you know. And I gotta give a shout out to Phil Anselmo. You're talking about from where he started off to where he is now, like the vocal quality and the progression that he's at this point in his career. Shout out to him. And blasting drums from, you know, Adam. He's not here right now, but, you know, I'm no surprise there. The buzzsaw guitars from yours truly. You know, again, I'm lucky to still have a head that's upright talking to you guys right now. And listening to Black, it was just so much of twisting of the DNA of what is black metal. And along with Phil and Adam, you know, how much did things change from when you guys first started composing on this album to where you ended up finishing it? Did a lot change in between? Did nothing change in between? Was there already a specific sound you guys knew you wanted with Black?
Yeah, sorry, I know my
I'm like, what do you want to get that? You're good.
Work won't leave me alone. But yes, Scour has a good phrase we always call "stick to the plan." So I mean, it was discussed kind of like what Scour's vision was originally. You know, stripped down, straight to the point. But I think as we grow, it's always going to sound Scour and keep those fierce moments, but it's going to expand a little bit. Like, we've never ever wanted to be a black metal band. We're not going to wear like bullet belts and corpse paint and capes and shit.
You could, but yeah.
We could, but I don't think Phil would get on stage with us. But so we kind of can do whatever we want, you know, as long as it's extreme and Scour, and it's not going to be completely different. But I think moving forward with the full length, it's going to be a little more expanded. There's going to be probably some death metal elements. There's going to be some soundscape elements. It's definitely going to expand, but it's definitely going to be Scour. And from the first track to the last track, there's going to be no doubt in your mind it's a Scour record. You know what I mean?
Yeah. John, Mark, you want to add to that?
Well, D writes the hits, but from what I can gauge, it's sort of like this minimalist approach. And as he says, stick to the plan. If there's anything added, it's done very carefully. And I don't know. I don't know really how to describe it. For me, it's like I get what you're saying with the creepy vibe and the malevolent hooks in there. I personally like the two, like the almost like a 3 guitar part kind of thing going on, where it has the melody line over the top that's all delayed out, and then you know, you have one trim pick guitar on the lower end of things and another trim pick guitar on the higher end of things. It makes this big atmosphere with not a lot, you know. Yeah. But on a stereo recording, it ends up just sounding like this huge wall of sound. And yeah, I've really appreciated that about the music.
I'd throw in a couple of the changes or differences, at least, would be we've added Mark's backing vocals on the Black EP. Yeah. And also Derek, when he was writing it, he knew he had Adam in tow. So this was, I think, the first writing process where he's like, he knew he could bump up the BPMs to where Adam can blast a little faster. So adding Mark, and so we got 3 backing vocalists on each song. Well, we got a guest, of course, Jason Momoa.
Of course.
But there's and that added low end of Mark's voice really beefed up the Black EP, I think. And in the future, I expect more backing vocals.
Yeah, right on. Mark, I gotta say, I was gonna say, every time Mark talks, you look like an angel, like with that light above your head. Like, looks like a halo. Sorry,
holy shit.
It's like filling out my screen. I'm like, I need to screenshot Mark on that now. Did you guys finish Black before this whole pandemic like even came in existence, or was it something that was like, I don't know, like how did that come about?
Yes, absolutely. Well, the music was recorded a couple years ago, and Phil took some time to write the lyrics and record them. But it was kind of creepy because a lot of the songs, if you read the lyric or if you read the lyrics, you would say or think that he wrote them during a pandemic, but it was all done beforehand.
And, you know, listening to that sound, and Misery Index is one of my favorite bands of all time. When I first heard you guys, like, God, in the early 2000s, it blew my fucking mind still to this day. But I want to throw 2 names at you, you know, audio engineer Ryan Vincent and Steven Berrigan. You know, it was mixed and mastered by Ryan. He's known for his work with, of course, Misery Index, Navalra. He's worked with New Noise Magazine, Decibel, and vocals and drums were engineered by Steven. And he's known for his work with Down, Phil Anselmo and the Legals, I Hate God. You know, having said that, did it give you guys a sense of comfortability in the studio knowing that you were working with them on this record?
Definitely. Brian Loopy, we call him. We've known him for 20 years. I mean, the guy, when Cast of Stone was first starting out, we would play shows with Omicron, his band. There was like Origin meets Cryptopsy, just like Brutality, and I played bass for him for a little bit. But yeah, he's done a bunch of tattoos on me and stuff, and so we've known him forever, and we know that he knows his shit. And Mark actually spent a lot of time with Loopy in the editing process, and so I trust those dudes up and down. So maybe Mark can elaborate a little bit more about working with the Loop Man.
Yeah, Loop Man's awesome. Like Dee said, we know him for many years, and like my personal experience. What's that?
I think Adam's joining in.
Oh, here we go.
We got the whole crew.
What I missed?
You're sideways.
Oh, do a switcheroo.
There you go.
There it is.
All right, what's up, Adam?
Yeah, I
Thanks
was
for
saying
joining us, man.
Adam doesn't step in. Oh, hey.
Look at that Misery Index beanie there. That thing's sick.
We were just talking about MI, actually.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, look at Mark. Doesn't he look like an angel? I was telling him earlier as he was talking, like that halo over his head.
I don't see Mark. You got to say something. Here, let me get all.
Oh, he's got it. Okay, you have to talk. That way he'll come up on the.
Hello, Adam.
Ah, there he is. Nice face. I haven't seen that face in a while.
Are you in the practice space right now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You just got done blasting?
No, I was driving. I didn't want to zoom and drive. That's
well, you better get off this call and keep blasting, buddy.
Yeah, I better start
Yeah.
blasting.
You can blast right now.
There's them drums. There you go. John,
What's up?
how's it going?
Doing
Sorry,
good.
Mark.
Yeah.
You got interrupted there, man.
Yeah,
Mark was talking, and then Adam came in.
Are we talking about Loopy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved when I moved back from Baltimore to Missouri. I needed to be able to record guitar tracks and vocal tracks and have them be good. And I went over to Ryan's home studio and just tried him out on some things, some minor stuff. Like the first thing we did was we worked on the what Misery Index did for Decibel magazine, the Sepultura cover, Primitive Future for the Flexi, and his responsibilities were just to get my vocals and basically cut some guitar DIs, do some reamps, and he did that on a professional level. And so for the next few things that we did, including like the last Misery Index album, I worked with him. And so when the Scour Boys were looking for a mixed master guy for this, I mentioned that maybe we should try out the Loop Man, and so we did, and we did a bunch of like Dee said, I was sitting there doing some editing work with him, and then we reviewed some mixes and stuff, and it was sore. It wasn't really that painful of a process, and I think he like really got the mix down. I mean, it sounds good, so it just kind of worked out.
I mean, that's what I heard. Adam, man, thanks for joining us, man. I know you joined late. We were talking about, Mark was just talking about Loopy. I was going to ask you about Steven Berrigan, because I know he engineered the drums on the new Scour record. Is that correct? Yeah. What was it like?
He did the Red EP and the Black EP. He's pretty much Phil's go-to guy. He's the main engineer at the Nosferatu's lair. So he's done everything from Down to In Minor and
nice.
King Parrot. I think Child Bites even recorded there. Like basically, if you've recorded at the lair, it's been Steve Berrigan, big fella.
And I'm going to throw a couple more names out at you guys. And we mentioned it briefly at the beginning of this interview. Erik Rutan of Hate Eternal, Pat O'Brien from Cannibal Corpse, and of course, Jason Momoa, Dune, Game of Thrones, Aquaman, whatever you want to name that he's done. You know,
Never heard of
what was that experience like? You know, bringing in, you know, outside professional artists in their respective fields into your world of making music. You know, did it make the process easier knowing that they were present?
Who wants to answer that?
Well,
let's start with Uncle POB.
Y'all take
Let's start
turns.
with
We could do it that way. This is the most I've had like during interviews. So,
So we needed some shredded lead players, and when you think about shredding leads, the Cannibal Corpse guys always come to mind. And Rob Barrett, he was there when Scour was doing our demos. We were on tour with Cannibal Corpse, so we're friends with all those guys. And Uncle POB, Pat O'Brien, did a great. He asked, he's like, "What kind of solo do you want, man? Do you want a Slayer-like solo?" I said, "Sure, whatever it takes, you know." And he just came back with this shredding solo. And same with Rutan, who's now playing with Cannibal Corpse.
Right.
He did an amazing job. I think Derek said it was his favorite solo of all time.
might be my favorite solo I've ever heard. I'm not just saying that.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah, it was real honor to have these guys. You know, we've all toured with them and known these guys for 10 plus years, and just to even have them on a Scour song, I know, Little Baby, it's pretty magical and quite the honor, you know.
And what about Jason Momoa, this guy that everyone keeps talking about? What was it like working?
Derek's a big Baywatch fan, so
like whose idea was it? Like, how did it? Did you guys know anybody knew Jason beforehand? Somebody reached out to him like, "Hey, you
Derek."
Yeah, that's all Derek there.
Yeah, that's my homie, Big Jason. And yes, he was on Baywatch. So if you're watching on Pluto TV, the free app, Baywatch, you'll see him pop up once in a while. Short hair, so you gotta kind of look at him, you know, but make sure it's him. But yeah, he came out to the Slayer's final show when Phil and some of the Illegals were opening up, and he came backstage and met everybody, and I was just like, "Hey man, you got to come up and sing Walk with Us," you know. And he's like, "Oh, maybe no." And I was like, "Come on, get up there." And we didn't actually play Walk that night, but we played This Love. And he got up there and sang it with us. He brought his kids up on stage and everything.
Dang.
He's up there with Mike Daly on, thrashing around, sharing the mic. I was so sick. But after the show, we were up in like the little catering area, and I just started talking to him for a bit. And he's just like, "Yeah, get my number down." And we talked a little bit here and there. And when we were kind of getting the final touches of our backing vocals done, Jarv and I we're thinking about the end of Doom, and we're like, man, it really needs something special. And we were like, should we just scream it out at the end, hold it out? And we were like, let's get somebody, maybe we should get a guest. And then his name popped up, so I asked him you know, if he was down, and like within like a minute he hit me back, was like, fuck yeah. So we're like, you're in. And he's been such a homie. He shared it from like his pages and stuff, and we got like hundreds of thousands of views on our Doom little visualizer that we had. So big props to him for helping us out there. But he was stoked, I mean, to do a little duet with like one of his heroes. You know, if you follow him and stuff, you'll see him like skateboarding or like rock climbing, and he's always got Pantera jamming in the background. And it's just a metalhead, you know, it's just a homie. So it was just really cool to have all the guests on the EP actually.
Have you had a chance to look at the comments on that Doom video? I mean, it's the commonality in those comments is if Jason's voice sounds like this, he needs to be an original member from Scour. I don't know if you've seen that. It's just, I'm going through the comments. I'm like, oh my God. Of course I was blown away by it, but I don't know how you feel. Like, hey, Jason, take a look at the comments. Like, I don't know. This is something that could set up a collaboration for a full length for you guys going forward.
Well, none of us read the comments ever, so
that's a good thing, actually.
No, I don't know. If he wants to come up and sing his stuff live, he's welcome anytime. But you know, hey, if he wants to throw down some more Vox, you know, let me know.
You know, and I mentioned this before. This new EP serves as the final installment of the EP trilogy: Gray, Red, and now Black. This gets to me, you know, as I'm talking about it. To what level do you guys like to have a theme for your records. How important are themes to you? Is that more about helping you guys write or sound, or is it more for the audience? Because a lot of artists, they don't really care about themes. They just do 10 songs in the studio and that's it. But I felt like with the way you guys have went on this path with Scour, and which is, I think, is brilliant. I mean, was there something like that, a theme that you guys wanted to aim for when you released this record?
Well, the color theme was an idea off the bat, but really all the lyrics, it's all Phil writing those. So, if you read them, they're kind of all over the place. But so I don't know if he has a real theme going through any of the records, but the color theme was always there. And the idea of having 3 EPs with 6 tracks each for 666, that was an idea early on that we ended up doing in the end. But yeah, I think lyrically Phil is kind of all over the place. I don't know if he's doing any sort of concept albums or anything, but hey, maybe in the future, you never know.
Anybody else want to add to that? Because if anybody else wants to add to that, because I was going to ask, as you're talking about all these other collaborations you guys have with these artists, and you've known all these artists for years, does this feel like a super group to you? Is it fair to call yourselves that at this point?
I mean, we're all
a group of super guys. Jumping back real quick, and then I'll let the boys take over the next question. But there is a few things, like conceptually, like me and our artists spent a lot of time on just like little details in the artwork, which most people just look at, they're like, oh, gray, you know, whatever, red. But there's a lot of stuff actually in there that are conceptual, like the last track, Subprime, third record of the trilogy. The song stops exactly at 3 minutes, 33 seconds, 0.33. And you'll find little things throughout the artwork and like just like the numbers that are registered. The first one is, the gray is HC0666. We just stole that number. You know, we're like, obviously this is going to be our catalog number. The red was HC0999. In case you flip it upside down, keep it brutal. And then the last record, the third one, is HC0333. So there's tons of like things like that in there, like little Easter eggs throughout the whole thing if you really dive into it. But I'll let the boys talk about how super we are.
I mean, I feel like Mark was going to say something, and then Derek came in.
I don't know. I just think, you know, we're all in some known bands, and you know, and obviously Anselmo is involved, but I would say it's like some, you know, and that's not the intention. It's not, the intention is not to be a group. It's really just the best guys for the job for this project.
Yeah, it's a term that gets loosely thrown around, like you know, in the underground. Like, okay, you could talk about Kill or Be Killed. That's one of them, you know. And they've been with, you know, Max and Troy. They've been with many other bands, but you guys have too. You guys have taken in a lot of experience throughout your career. You know, releasing an EP like Black and gearing up for 2021. Do you see this EP as like a snapshot of where you guys are at a certain time in your life, looking back?
I would say, I guess you can see like where we are, like in our progression, I guess, but Scour's always tried to just focus on writing like timeless music, if you will, you know, we hope to be, so that it'll just stand up for the test of time, you know. I would say that, you know, moving forward, these EPs were kind of geared in a way to almost demo the band, because we're still a brand new band, even with Phil Anselmo at the helm, where there's a lot of people don't even know we exist. So moving forward with the full length, we've got plans kind of laid out already of how it's going to progress, but it's all stick to the plan, original ideas, don't overthink it, you know.
Are you guys writing new material right now? Is that something you can say or cannot say?
Yes. And it's fucking ripping.
I'm just like chuckling.
Our boys still got it.
Sorry, Adam.
Might want to start practicing, Adam.
Hey, I
Bunch of
wanted
blasts.
to add in there. We do get that Kill or Be Killed comparison a lot. I noticed.
I have, yeah, and I asked that because I have heard that from the fans themselves. They actually keep bringing that in. I was like, I mean, I don't know. That's why I was asking, how do you guys perceive yourselves? And that you've answered it. It's just a bunch of guys getting together and making great music.
Those two groups, these two, our group and their group, are very different. Because that did start out as more of like a super group, and they've gone out in the press on purpose to say, oh no, this feels more like a band, so they can get away from that. And I think like on this last record, they did a really good job actually of blending all their styles together into like these really like nice catchy cohesive songs, and that definitely is what that is. That is a blend of personalities as a song, and it's surprising that it's that cohesive, and we are completely different. And over here, like Derek writes the hits and Selmo writes the vocals, and we just do what we're told and try to execute things to the plan. As I say, we stick to the plan. And so it's a very different environment. We're not trying to have like a conglomeration of 100 different personalities. We're trying to do one singular focused thing, and we're all understand that and see the value in it and are committed to it. So it's in that way, it's very different from that other project.
Between Scour and Misery Index, Cattle Decapitation, Cast of Stone, Pig Destroyer, Fulgora, Asthma Castle, Lockup, I could go on forever. Like the list goes on forever for you guys. And Adam, I know you've been drumming since 1991, and I've been talking about each of you guys, career. Derek, you've performed at over 1,000 shows, over 30 countries, and you've had your own creations and through various projects over the years. Mark, John, all of you guys together. What's the most rewarding part for someone like yourselves who is now at this point in your careers, at the same time has been involved with so many other different aforementioned talented bands, artists, individuals throughout that entire timeline throughout yourselves? Did all that play like helping you guys grow as an artist, like together as a band, supposedly?
Yeah, I mean, it all, goes back to just the camaraderie of the metal scene and bands that you tour with. Like those relationships don't go away, and it's like, once you tour with Napalm Death, you're family with Napalm Death. Once you tour with Cannibal Corpse, you're family with Cannibal Corpse. And, who knows what can come of that, and it's a very unique thing in the metal scene to like, I guess in the case with Scour, it all kind of, we got introduced to Phil, I guess, me and John met him back in 2013 when he wanted to sign Fulgora. And it's like, look what happened just from that. It's just like one little thing can lead to something you don't even like see coming down the road, and 2 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years, whatever. And all of a sudden, like, you're getting a phone call from somebody to jam, and you're like, let's do it. And, it's always an honor to be, involved with so many amazing musicians. And, I guess, if you call it a super group or whatever you want, but
I don't even want to call it a super group. Just call yourselves whatever the fuck y'all want.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not even
the day, we're all, friends and family. Yeah. Of course, me and John are cousins, and it's just like, you're just creating some badass memories and badass songs, and go have some fun and rip it.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, rip it.
Rip it.
Rip it good.
That's going to be the title of this interview. Just rip it.
Rip it good.
Well, one thing I would add, Scour, the Scour Boys, Mark and I were jamming Cast of Stone back in 2000, 2001. We were playing shows with All Will Fall with the Jarvi. So, I mean, we've known each other forever, and it's kind of like, people want to call us a super group, I say that's pretty awesome to hear, because it's really just the same dudes I've known forever that you know, it's like, oh, those are the St. Louis crew, you know, who are we going to get to be in Scour? Obviously, we're going to get our homies. And if people are like, oh, a Supergroup is formed, you're like, well, I guess that, you know, says a lot of what we've done for ourselves, I guess, in the last 15 years. But, you know, it's pretty cool. But for us, it's just the same old crew, you know, that we see each other in the holidays and go to the creepy crawl and shit like that, you know.
Adam, I know you joined late, but before you joined, we were talking about how the touring life was for you guys, because you know you've done some extensive touring throughout your career. I was gonna wait till you actually joined, so I was gonna ask, like, do you guys have any? I don't know. We're a long way removed from the whole live experience. We're in December, for crying out loud. I think Adam just bounced off here. I don't know if you can
sorry, I keep being blown up with texts and phone calls right now.
You're an important guy. That's yeah. I was gonna ask, like, do you guys have any like just tour stories you guys can just shoot the shit about that you maybe haven't had the chance to already? Oh, Mark's got something.
Let's talk about Discreet in Europe. No,
oh boy,
not talk about that.
Because you guys are on like different places at once. I don't know if you guys had a chance to like just get together on like just something, you know, as far as just not maybe just getting away from the music side, just talking about like what you miss the most about touring, so to speak.
I can think of one story with Mark and Adam involved. We were somewhere on the West Coast up north, and the show was in some church, and we were going to go down to this creek and go swimming. It was with Origin and Abysmal Dawn. And anyway, Mark and I go out in the middle. We're in the middle of this lake, and the water's flowing, and it's kind of a pretty steep drop to where we got to go. Like, we can't go left or right. We can't go back. We got to go down this drop. And we're kind of standing there waiting, see who's going to do it first. You know, it's kind of like, because we don't know what's down there. It could have been sharp rocks. You know, we're going to get pretty fucked up if we go down into these rocks. And I remember looking up and I saw two vultures circling around us that it's like, oh my God, like they think we're going to die too. And it was kind of a scary moment. But what was scary was when Paul Ryan showed up. He's like, what are you guys doing? You guys are supposed to be on stage right now. And I guess because a lot of the local bands didn't show up, and Misery Index was supposed to be playing, and we're out in the middle of a lake, you know, swimming and shit. But that's one I could think of. When I thought we were going to die out in the middle of a lake once.
Jesus.
Is that true? I haven't heard anything from anyone else.
I don't know if I remember that, honestly.
Being late. I was on the Summer Slaughter tour once with Cattle, and I remember we had a short window of time. We were I think we were in Florida. And me and the guitar player, Thy Art Is Murder, were like, let's go surfing. We're like, all right, fuck yeah. So we went and we got these boards. The guy hooked them up for free because he's like, just, you know, he was down with metal or whatever. I think we got him on the guest list to go catch like the rest of the set. But
are you talking about Andy? Is it Andy from Thy Art?
No, it was their old guitar player.
Oh, okay. Bass player. Okay.
But I'm friends with all those guys, all their homies, my queasers. But yeah, same thing. We got out of the water and we thought we had like 2 hours, and then my singer's blowing me up like, where are you guys at? We're on stage in 10 minutes. And I was like, you know, in my trunks with like a surfboard, you know, so we had to fly back, and I just literally just threw on my shit and jumped on stage all salty and nasty, like back when I had long hair. But close call, if you will.
That's pretty awesome. Adam, Mark, I know you guys. Come on, Misery Index boys, let's go.
It's too many to even think of. I mean, it's like, I'm trying to solo out one right now, and it's freaking insane. But I remember me and Mark drinking a bunch of Belgian beer one time, and we showed up late. And it's kind of a similar thing where it was like a matinee show and we didn't know about it. And we're like in Belgium. We're like, oh yeah, let's go just have a couple beers, which we never do before a show, but we were in Belgium. And we get back and it's like, yo, you guys are on in like now. And we're like, and I was planning on taking a nap, going to get something to eat, sobering up, but nope. And we played, and I remember Mark like being infuriated with the monitor guy and like yelling at him like, what the fuck? It's like,
Yeah.
more stupid shit happened that night, but we won't go there.
Yeah, D was there, I believe, despite all that, before going on stage. Me and D did a little top to bottom. to start things off.
There's a few things about that night I think could be told.
There's a few things.
Hey, this is the last interview of the year, so you guys want to finish off with a bang, so please do so.
All I know is that we were doing shirts off arm wrestling at the bar with like James Lee of Origin. And it was just like, it was all chaos. I was bartending at one point in the night. Yeah, I don't know much else about what happened. I think it all got a little fuzzy, but that was one of the most out of control tours of all time. What was it? February 2007, I think, or something.
Something like that.
Necrophagist, Misery Index,
Oh my
Origin,
gosh, Necrophagist. That takes me back.
Discreet.
Yeah.
What was the newest record for Misery at that time? 2007.
Discordia.
Okay, that was before, because Air Thievery came out 2010. Yeah,
that was right before, I guess, Traitors came out. So
yeah, because was it Traitors and then Airs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, for the Misery Boys, what was your favorite record to work on? Now that I have you guys.
Heirs to Thievery, I think we like really honed in on our songwriting in a conscious way. Like Discordia, we were still trying to figure out what we were doing. In Traitors, we can write cool songs, and like we kind of figured it out how to write original, like really cool original songs together. And then so by Heirs to Thievery, we were taking that to a whole other ball game. And really, like, we spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in pre-production, just like getting every single tiny little thing the way we wanted it. And that was a really pivotal sort of album, because for albums after that, there's a lot of that like stuff that we worked through that we just have now ingrained in ourselves. So now when I'm coming up with riffs for that, for basically Adam, I kind of have an idea of what he's looking for and what I can play to his strengths, and then he can like make that, in the same way going the other way. And then we kind of have an idea of what kind of details that we're gonna work out. Like we're several steps down, just starting off on certain ideas and things like that. But it definitely started on the Heirs to Thievery, putting those hundreds of hours together on pre-production.
You have a favorite song you like to play live, specifically?
We have several favorite songs we like to play live, I think. And we do. We do play them. Carry On Call. Illuminat's a killer one.
Yeah.
I remember when I first heard the intro to Sleeping Giants. Jesus motherfucking Christ, like Adam. And when I say like, the first thing, when John joined this call, I was like, oh, hey, where's the other family member? Because Adam, I'm going to ask you about that song. Like, how did that even like come to the surface? Like when it came to like just writing something like that, so complex. Do you push yourself when it comes to writing, playing drums? Like, okay, this will actually make me become a better drummer. Same thing for each of you guys. Like, do you guys ever write anything that's so far advanced where I don't even know if I can do this again? Mark, Derek, John, as far as like writing music.
On Heirs to Thievery, that was definitely true. We were like pushing the boundary for sure. And moving forward, we still do that to an extent, where you just push it past where you're going to have to build up. But I think that's true for Scour too, man. Like, it's writing like a little bit ahead of like what is comfortable, and I feel like that sort of like anxiety and anticipation kind of vibe where it's just pushing forward. Like that's captured in live performance too, because of that approach where you're just, like for Scour, for example, I mean, you are just, for an hour-long set, man, you are trem picking for an hour, and Adam is blasting at 250 BPM for an hour. So it's like, that's some serious big boy stuff going on there. So you have to have practiced a lot, not because it's exactly the most technical material or whatever, but just because it requires it requires that level of stamina that you can only get from repetition.
Yeah, and playing this stuff, like, you got to basically, especially being the drummer, you got to treat yourself as like you're like a professional athlete at a certain point. You can't, slack and not play for, say, like even 2 weeks. I'll notice a huge difference. So, I've been, this is obviously, I'm in my practice space, so I've been up here a lot lately, just blasting with force. And, it's kind of a blessing in disguise in a way, because, it keeps me in shape and, makes me, push the boundaries, as you were saying, like trying stuff new, always like trying to just become a better player and a better drummer and better musician and what have you,
Yeah.
With each release, you don't want to outdo yourself too much, but there's a fine line,
Yeah.
like, it's like, here's that threshold, you push it like right about here, and you're like, okay, back down to here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Derek, I know you were with Cattle Decapitation. I don't know if you had, same answer, as far as what they were saying about their experience with Misery Index. I mean, as far as Cattle Decapitation, you guys have really put yourself on the map. And I know you guys aren't playing shows anymore, obviously, but do you have a favorite album that you've done specifically? I mean, it doesn't have to be with Cattle. It could be with any other artist that you've collaborated with, John, for you as well. Just like anything that just stands out from the top of your head. Like, okay, we're stepping away from Scour, because I want to ask, like, you individually, like, what record did you love the most that you loved doing?
Well, for Cattle, I was just on the 2 records, Monolith of Inhumanity and Anthropocene Extinction. And I think those are the 2 fan favorites. I mean, honestly, you got, I think Monolith is probably like, when we were firing on all cylinders. Anthropocene was a little more refined, a little darker, I guess. But as far as like my bass work, extremely stoked on the bass tone on Anthropocene. Monolith too. But Anthropocene spent a lot of time with Dave Otero battling it out. But at the end of the day, really pleased. And I was really stoked on the bass tone with Cast of Stone's EP that we released. That was mixed and mastered by the legend Dan Swano. So it was a pleasure to work with him as well. Big hero of all of ours. And the bass is super crushing. Maybe a little too crushing. Sorry, Mark, on that one. But I could have used a little bit more guitars, but balance. But yeah, there's a couple of things, like, I guess moving back to the Cattle record, like the song Monolith, the instrumental, and leading into the final track, Kingdom of Tyrants. I was probably the predominant songwriter for those 2, and a lot of stuff on those records, but those 2 songs mainly. And it's kind of a precursor to what some Scour is doing, like where we take, say, Microbes into Subprime. It's the same, like, instrumental with the main theme fleshed out, different take that leads perfectly into the next song. So those 2 are a highlight. And another highlight, Forced Gender Reassignment. I was, wrote the main riff in that. And when you see the Forced Gender Disney version on YouTube, you've made it. So I highly recommend you guys check that out if you want a nice chuckle.
All right, I will have to put that in mind. Before we leave here, I know we're running out of time, and we've been already at this for an hour. We were talking about earlier how you guys kind of had that, and it's perceived by most of the listeners like you guys have that black metal sound, but you kind of have your own twist to it. do you guys feel like that's a unique take you're taking on as well? Because usually the black metal sound we hear it from, in Europe and Poland and Norway, they have that sound. That's where it was established. But does it feel like you guys are finally taking on your own persona of what black metal is here in the States? Of course, you don't go on stage with like corpse paint and whatever, you dress up as black metal, whatever the tradition is. Does it feel like you guys have taken on the own persona of yourselves at this point?
Well, I have heard American black metal being described for Scour. I don't know if that works, but like Derek mentioned before, we don't really strive to be a black metal band. And Phil's vocals, I think, mixes it up a lot, and even all of our own backing vocals add a little flavor. But I don't know if Derek can probably take a stab at this one.
Yeah, I do think we've got our own sound going on. I've seen it out there, people talking about it. Don't want to be a black metal band, but the two best parts about black metal to me are the buzzsaw guitars and the ripping blasts. So if that's black metal, then I'm guilty, I guess. But we are going to be...
It's Scour. That's what that is.
Yes. I think one thing Scour is that, Mark was talking about, it's always got that eerie, siren, creepy, just kind of like weird vibe going on. Very like soundtrack influence, James Murphy, where it just keeps building and more like keeps you tense. I think that adds a lot to the Scour sound, and I would expect to hear lots more of it because it sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I look forward to that. And whatever. Go ahead.
Well, very theatrical with like just a few instruments involved, which is cool.
Yeah,
and Derek writes the hits here, but my interpretation of it is like it's almost like just for black metal in particular, or black metal infused sort of music, the Dimmu Borgirs of the world, and things like that. You don't really think of, like, for example, Dimmu. You don't think that's not really a black metal band to you. It's like more, it's something else, and whatever that is. It's not like, it's almost borderline like symphonic, kind of like what Septic Flesh is doing, that type of stuff. But it just seems to me that what Scour is kind of doing is going all the way back to Bathory and modernizing from there, and just skipping over all the strange twists and turns and reiterations and co-opting and borrowing, and it's just going all the way back to there and making that in a more like theatrical sounding but still minimalist modern approach.
You guys did a cover of Bathory, is that true?
That's true.
Yeah. Man, I need to hear that actually. I knew about it. I did not actually hear it, so I'm gonna have to look that up. But man, before we go, you guys have any, like, this has been great. Like, obviously I was telling John, we would do these in person, but you guys have any like last like shout outs, like anything you want to plug, anything you want to mention to the fans who are listening about Scour going forward into 2021?
Yeah, just be ready for a special surprise early in the year from the Scour Boys. Been working on. And pick up that trilogy, the red, the gray, and the black.
And everyone who's listening, this is the Scour Boys. I'm going to say Scour Boys, minus Phil. Hopefully, I wish he was on this as well. That'd be the perfect way to end this. The Black EP is out now. Came out November 27th on Housecore and Nuclear Blast Records. You guys, thank you so much. You guys be safe. Have a great holidays. Have a great New Year. We'll stay in touch, and hopefully we can do this again in person sooner than later. I'll catch you guys later, man.
Thanks for having us.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Interview Under Fire podcast. If you guys liked what you heard, please subscribe and share our channel. And please leave a 5-star review, as that helps us tremendously. And also, if you guys have any questions or comments, you can find us at Interview Under Fire at Facebook or at Instagram. Or you can write us directly at schwag@interviewunderfire.com. That's SCHWAG at interviewunderfire.com. Or Rezablade, that's REZABLADE at interviewunderfire.